Yeah, I'm going to talk about what tools you need for motorbiking in Vietnam and also what to do about flat tires. Now, this is a topic that I think worries a lot of people who are traveling Vietnam by motorbike because many people who come here are not really that experienced in terms of bikers and mechanic-based skills, so they don't know what to prepare. Now, I've got good news for you. Pretty much every single Tigit customer travels across this country without any tools at all. And the reason for that is there are just so many mechanic shops in this country. It's very rare to find a piece of road that doesn't have a mechanic shop within a 10, 15, 20-minute drive. There are some sections where there are no mechanic shops, but you have to be well off the beaten trail for those. If you do find yourself in a section of the country that has no mechanic shops, you can always wave down a local, and they're very likely to be able to bail you out and find somebody who can get the bike going or push the bike or tow the bike. And real worst case scenario, you can put the bike on a truck. Now in mechanic shops, we will be able to translate for you. It's actually one of the things that separates Tigit out from other companies is I think our translation and diagnostic abilities over the phone is better than most companies. We are good at that. And we can also translate to locals who are trying to help you and people such as waving down trucks and things like that. If you're renting a Honda XR 150 from Tigit, we will provide you with spare inner tubes because you can't find these inner tubes anywhere in Vietnam. We'll give you one back and one front, or if you want to be super safe, you can take two back and one front. If you use or lose one of the inner tubes, then we will charge you for the replacement of that tube. Now, what is a good idea is if you use a tube, you should then ask the mechanic to patch your old tube. Just like a bicycle, they can patch it up and generally they can be reused again. So how do you find a mechanic shop in Vietnam? Well, you need to type Sua Se into Google Maps, or you can type Honda Head into Google Maps or Yamaha Town into Google Maps. Now, if there isn't a mechanic shop showing up on a map, it doesn't mean that there isn't one around. You can then look for the nearest sort of group of buildings on Google Maps and head towards civilization basically, and you are likely to find someone with mechanical based skills in a nearby town. Another question we get asked is if the Tigit bikes have toolkits inside. Now, because you do not need a toolkit to travel Vietnam, we actually don't check the pre-made toolkits that come with the motorbikes when you buy them new. And unfortunately, if you were to open the toolkits in the bikes, you'll find that most of the tools have been gone missing, stolen. But we don't replace it, we don't charge for it, we don't check it, you don't need it, okay? Now, what happens if you are someone who actually does want the capabilities to fix your motorbike on the side of the road? What sort of tools would you need? Now, in some ways, I'm a good person to answer this question because I'm also someone who has really no mechanic-based skills at all. I'm just a guy who's pretty good at test driving bikes, but I cannot fix them. Now, what will happen is if you ask a sort of mechanical-based minded person, is they'll start saying to you, you need this screwdriver and that screw and this socket wrench and this and that. And you can just go down to a local market and buy all the parts and hey presto, it's going to work. But in reality, most of us don't have the time to figure out what all of these numbers, sizes and tools are, let alone go down to a market and attempt to buy them. And then when you do buy them, you find that you have a Honda bike, but that person had a BMW bike and none of the tools they told you were correct. So what I have is a overly expensive pre-packaged toolkit that has basically everything you need for nearly every single bike. Now, I went down that rabbit hole of trying to listen to everyone and go to markets. It never worked. So I bought this, and it is a Wearer Toolkit Plus, and there has been no holiday where I have not had the right part to fix someone else's bike or my own bike, be it a Honda, KTM, Kawasaki. It has it all in this tiny little package. So I recommend you go down that road and you buy something super small, designed with everything already to go. Now this has a little socket wrench, it has a screwdriver, it has Allen keys in there, everything. And to put it in perspective, this little package costs about $100 US. What I also have in my toolkit is a proper screwdriver for if you're wanting to really tighten something down, double-ended. I have a Leatherman with a knife and things. I have zip ties, tape. Those are two of the most important part of any mechanic-based setup on a motorbike. And I have a little adjustable wrench thing here. And then I have a tubeless repair kit. Now this will work on a CB500X, Honda Winner, and that's about it from the Tigit fleet. I have a dirt bike with tubeless tires, which is where this comes in. But if you have a tube in the bike, so a Honda XR, Honda Blade, and the tubeless repair kit's not going to help. So what would you do if you had a flat tire? What sort of tools would you actually need to be able to fix a flat tire? The answer is actually an awful lot. You're going to need a pump. So because I have a tubeless kit, I carry this electric pump to fix flats on my bike. But you would need one of these if you're planning on fixing a tubed bike as well. You would need wrenches and sockets that fit your wheel size of your bike. And most bikes have different sizes. So for example, a Honda CRF 250 is going to have different sizes to a Honda XR 150. You're going to need all of that. And then you would need the capabilities and the skill set to actually take a wheel off a bike and then repair the tube or replace the tube, just like with a bicycle. Now there are loads of videos on YouTube that will teach you how to take a wheel off a motorbike in 5 minutes, for example. But if you actually, you need tire spoons as well actually. There's so much that goes into fixing a flat. Anyway, these 5-minute tutorials that you'll find on YouTube, if you actually go and try and do it yourself on a motorbike, you'll realize it is extremely difficult. It is not something you just magically do. It's not like a bicycle. So if you are someone who wants to have the capabilities of fixing a flat on the side of a road, your first step is to learn to do it at home in your own garage on a real motorbike and to get the tools that you need to be able to do it at home. If you're asking what tools do I need to fix a flat tire in Vietnam, you're already too far behind to be able to do it when you're in Vietnam. You're not going to have the tools. So don't worry about it. You just got to make do with the worst case scenario of maybe waving down a truck if you get a flat. So what else should you have in your toolkit? Well, you should have a rope. This is not mine, but it just shows how basic it can be. Any sort of rope will do. And this will get you out of disaster scenarios. If you accidentally find yourself off-road, which happens quite a bit in Vietnam, you get stuck, a rope will get you out of a lot of nasty situations. You should have the capabilities to push a bike if you can. I have a video on that. You should have chain lube. We sell this at Tigit. It's very cheap, and really chain-based motorbikes, every 2 days you should be putting chain lube on the bike. So it's pretty crazy to me that customers come and they'll do a 1-month holiday with no chain lube at all, and then they wonder why the bike feels a bit gritty, the chain sort of grinding. Basically chain lube will make the chain and sprocket set go longer, which is great for us, but it also just smooths out the driving of the motorbike. It will feel better to drive if you're regularly lubing the chain. Okay, so we've touched on the phone support side a little bit, but I want to expand on that a bit further. In the end of the day, we cannot rescue you if you're in some remote place by yourself. You must get the contact of a local, and then we can translate and figure out diagnostic steps. It's also important to know how to get your GPS location, and you do that by going into Google Maps, holding your finger on your point of where you are. You'll be given a bunch of GPS coordinates, and you can share that directly to us. This is far more effective and efficient than trying to share us the name of some coffee shop. GPS is really, really important for us to quickly understand where you are and arrange help for you.
Does Tigit rent to customers who have been mechanics for 40 years?
Do I want to go down that road? Damn you, Sam. Damn you, Sam. Where to begin on that? So one of the final points I want to talk about is often when something goes wrong on one of our motorbikes, the customer will turn around and say, blah, 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 I've been riding motorbikes for 40 years. And what I will say is that riding your own motorbike for 40 years is very different to riding a rental motorbike in a country like Vietnam. And the truth is, a lot of the time, the customers think the bike broke down because the bike was bad, but actually the bike broke down because the customer made a mistake. A very simple example of this is if you were to drop the motorbike on the right-hand side in the sand, then you get sand into the accelerator, which then grinds through the accelerator cable. And customers will say, the accelerator cable snapped, it wasn't replaced or checked or anything like that, but in reality, it had sand inside and carved through the cable. These sorts of situations are pretty common with customers who think they have loads of experience with road riding, but then when they come to sort of dual sport Vietnam, where there's gravel tracks and potholes and people drop bikes, their mechanic skills sometimes are not quite what they think they are. And it's often a good idea to be open-minded to the support that we may give, and also to realize that the business is based in Vietnam, where we know there are mechanics everywhere and that we can help you out in mechanic shops. So if we ask you to go to a mechanic, you should go to a mechanic. You don't need to say that you've checked everything yourself and you know everything. Listen to the support staff on that. Yeah, mechanic shops can be fun, I suppose. Okay, you have given me one more thing to talk about. Another part of driving a motorbike over a long distance holiday like you're doing in Vietnam is actually preparation for your daily ride. For example, having the right tire pressure will help avoid you getting flat tires in the first place. Realizing, for example, that your accelerator cable is very sticky and jamming will make you understand that maybe there's dirt and sand in there that's about to grind through your accelerator cable. So truly experienced riders will detect problems before they ever happen. It's the amateurs that have bikes falling apart on them. Sometimes we made a mistake and the bike was not good, but a lot of the time, a decent rider would detect that and get it fixed before it ever becomes an issue. So be aware of that. Okay, enough ranting on this video.